Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am live. Just double checking stuff, doing the redundant thing. Okay, what happened here? Oh, okay. So that is the paint section, so just default. Okay, sweet. Okay, what happened here? Oh, okay. So that is the paint section, so just default. Okay, sweet. Okay, what happened here? There we go. Oh, okay. So that is the paint section, so just default. Yeah. All right, cool. Relearning stuff I already know, or should already know. Epic. So, today I am painting Comstar units. So, I was experimenting with speed paints, and I had an epiphany, right? Primed, completely white mech. That's the effect of just one paint. So, I mean, obviously, I'll paint this, and then I'll go back, and then I'll redo some of the white with another white. But it was more of an experiment on my part to kind of get this ball rolling on how to do white, especially with mechs, right? And I think it turned out pretty good. Like this one has no detail on it yet, except for the window, but that's literally just a coat of the Army War Painter Blinding Light. Army Painter Speed Paint. Yeah. Which I swore I'd never use. So, but painting white, oh man, it makes things so easy. So yeah, let's just get started. I'm going to finish up some details on this Highlander first. Just because I need to. There's a few things I need to do. I just need to do some gray washes in here and then that. And I think he is pretty much done other than the grass. So, yeah, I have. Excuse me a moment. I should have been prepared for this, but I'm not prepared. This is what happens when you mess around with this, with the streaming and the painting at the same time. I'm more focused on one task than the other. But don't worry, I will get this set up and ready to go. So, I have a handy dandy custom made, there we go, black wash. It's black ink, water, and medium. Works pretty darn good. The only thing I don't like about it is because I use ink, it turns out kind of shiny. But Mech's going to be a little shiny anyways because I'm going to clear coat it with cheap clear coat. Because I am cheap. We all gotta find money, places to save money, right? So yeah, this is just black ink, and I have somewhere around here. I have to reorganize the desk also for this stream. I'm actually planning on having a camera that's pointing straight down. I ordered it from Amazon. It's coming, so just patiently waiting. I got a nice little photo booth, so if you go onto my Instagram, you can check out some of the photos I've been taking of some of the minis I painted over the years. Just kind of filling it up with those so far. So we're gonna take this handy dandy black wash, which is my solution for them changing the recipe for Nuln Oil, because they changed the recipe. It's not as good as it used to be. Okay, so we take it to black and we go into the details. Yeah, it's going to darken it up a bit, but I'm going to re-brighten up that section of the mech. And I realize the point of using a speed paint is so that you don't have to do this, to kind of keep the colors really bright and shiny. But I think if you have the tool, oh wait, how come it's so dark? If you have the tool, you might as well use it, right? There we go. Like I said, it's still a little shiny, but I won't worry about that, because it's just going into the recesses, not doing anything spectacular. Just to bring out those little missile bays a little bit. You hear clicking around in the background. That is my cat using her liver. Because why not? Alright. Other than the grass, this Highlander is complete. I just have to have jewel. I call it jeweling. It's a special. I don't even know if they have it anymore, but I bought all 3 colors when they released it. I really hope they do keep these colors, because I absolutely love them for doing like lasers and stuff like that. And of course, it's underneath my airbrush station. Go figure. So I have to protect my paints because I have a cat, and she likes to go to the window. And yeah, cat's going to the window. I don't know if you know what that's like, but it can be annoying sometimes. She just doesn't care about my stuff. She's like, I don't care about your stuff. Okay, again, this stuff is super easy to work with. So I've done a really bright white, and you can actually. The fun part is you can actually paint whatever you want underneath, and it will show through. I just go for the easy. These are 6mm scale, so just a little blob of paint right there, and then I'll go through and I'll do like a white accent, and she'd be complete. And there's my kitty. Comstar, right? I'm keeping it pretty simple for these guys. These guys were more of an experiment. I realize I probably should use 3D printed minis because I have access to 3D printer for experimenting, but I just I want to play with some Comstar units. And I realize I do not have decals on them, but that's fine. I'm cool with that. I don't need decals. They're nice to have, but... So what I've done with these guys are going to work on. Alright, so we got these 3 mechs. Okay, so what I've done with these guys is I primed them white, and then I went back, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's some of the shadows on it. I actually went back and used an airbrush and hit it with a tiny bit of gray. just to kind of give it those shadows, because this paint is fairly opaque, and it doesn't cover a lot. It's more or less, in the end, just a shade, but a beautiful shade, right? And I don't even use medium with it. I just use it straight from the pot. And the beautiful thing about these guys, as opposed to the GW stuff, is they come with a ball bearing in the bottle. So that makes it incredibly useful, because you can shake up the paint and get whatever volume or get whatever good mix you want. So we're going to start with this guy. Can't even remember what his name is. I mean, there's so many mechs in Battletech, it's hard to remember all the names. But I have it somewhere, so if you're into Battletech and you're swearing at me because you're like, how come this guy doesn't know the name? Well, you know, can't know everything. I know the classics. This guy is a classic too, apparently. He is a Comstar unit. Alright, so I'm going to get a nice big glob and a brush, and then we will paint. So it's going to go into all those little nice details. I really like this paint. And if I put too much somewhere, it's okay. We're going to go back over it with white. It's mainly to kind of give detail to the recesses and stuff like that. And this stuff actually is really good at being a speed paint. It's not too thick. It's not going to coat everything. It's designed to be a white, like an accent for your whites. So I'm kind of glad that I bought into these, because I avoided painting Mechs white. I avoided painting anything white strictly because of this. Oh, my cat agrees with me. I think she just wants attention. You want attention? Alright. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it translates too well in camera. But I'm just kind of giving a nice thick, even coat all around to make those happy little trees. Obviously there's going to be other colors on this mech, but for now we're doing it in white. Well, grayish. So very, very light gray, faded gray. And when it dries, it'll have the same effect that you saw on the Highlander, because that's what we're going for. Nice, shiny new mix. Yeah. Okay. It's that easy. So you can still see some of the gray. I'm really into light. Still see some of the gray, but along the white, he's very noticeable. You can see a lot more of the detail. Right? That's what speed paints do. They're wonderful. So once this dries, I'm going to go back over it, touch up some of the areas that have little blobs on it with white. And this stuff is actually pretty good. I think they fixed the reactivation. But I think one of the things that they have in here, and I want to say it definitely has to be an activator in here in the medium, because it stays wet for a very long time, which is good. I'm not complaining. Right, so it gives like a lot more, there's a bit more, it's a bit more forgiving with the speed paints. On to the crab. But first, a word from our sponsor, coffee. That is all. So once I'm done base coating these guys, I'm actually going to move to some other mechs because I have the beauty. I have 3D printers, so I'm able to 3D print my own tools. So I actually have a stand over here, which I'll show you on a later date, that has like 8 handles on it. So I can actually be printing up to 2 lances of mechs at the same time, which is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. My main forces right now are actually Draconic's Combine. I kind of went for the worst of the worst, the Vega, the rat symbol one, the 11th Vega, I think it's called. There's so much lore to learn. I'm not super up on it. I am not hip with the lingo of the youngsters, as you would say. I'm more of a painter. I more enjoy painting. And I'm your average painter, so I look up to all the better painters than I am, so that's cool. So I learn things from them, which is what you should be doing. And always aspire to be a better painter, because that's half of the fun. The better you can make your skill, like, isn't it more rewarding to work at something? Like, I am at this point, because of years of painting, and these are not my best work. I have better mechs that will look way better. I'm not trying to insult myself. I'm just saying, like, you know, these are more meant for, I wanted to get them on the tabletop. Oof, that is way too much speed there. Right. Let's thin some of this out. Ooh, I put way too much on. Oh, little blobs everywhere. But yeah, so these guys are more meant to just get on the tabletop. Speed painting is what turned me off of speed painting, and this is no insult to anybody that just used speed paints. It's because I've been painting for so long and I'm used to me being able to do a specific quality, right? This is on no one else. This is me. I consider myself to be at like tabletop quality and above, right? So like you can put this on the table if you want to show up with painted minis, and it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to scoff at you for it. Nobody's going to scoff at you for it. It's the beauty of the hobby. Everybody comes in at different skill levels, right? But I know what I want to see from my work, and if I don't like it, I won't ever use it, right? So I saw, from what I saw on the speed paint, from like people that speed painted their stuff, and this is just Battletech because most people just want to get them on the table. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not crapping on anybody here. I know what I want to see from my models, right? So, and I like nice looking models on the table. There's nothing more satisfying than having a nice looking table with nice looking models. That being said, my table is under construction, right? I'm still printing hex tech terrain for my Alpha Strike table. So none of it's painted. It's literally black, right? But eventually it will be, and I know that, so that I feel good about it, right? And it still feels good to play with, right? I'll play with gray plastic. I'm not opposed to it, right? As long as I know I'm going to paint it. But from what I saw, I just speed paints opened up the market to beginner painters, right? Who tended to just use speed paints, which is fine, more than fine actually. It's great to see new people getting into the hobby, and so you've got something that looks pretty good with very little work, right? You spray paint it, you put this on it, it looks nice, right? But I want to go the extra step. Me personally, I want to do that extra step. I want my mechs to look as good as I can make them look. So I didn't like what I was seeing with other paint jobs that I saw with speed paints, but I was still curious, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to experiment. I like learning, so I bought the starter kit, and I've actually been thoroughly impressed. I am converted, one might say, because I consider them a tool in my arsenal. They're not the be-all and end-all. They're just a tool. So I will use them, and then I will go through, and I will still put the same amount of work into them that I put into other things. Like, I never would be able to do white that looks this good with other paints. I've avoided whites. I never really wanted to learn how to work with whites. And, honestly, who would send a giant white mech into battle? Well, obviously Comstar. But it's to me it's not a thematic color, right? Like, I'm used to World War II games, I'm used to, like, unless they were going into a winter combat scenario, right? And even then, not all of them are white. They're majority, like, if you look at the Canadian camo pattern, it's not all white. It's grays and blacks and stuff like that to kind of blend in with the terrain, right? Even if a 14-meter tall mech, would probably have some sort of camo. Planes and stuff like that have camo on them, right? World War II, planes were painted dark on the top and light on the bottom, so that when you saw them from the bottom, they were harder to spot, and when you saw them from the air on the ground, they were harder to spot, right? So it's just the nature of it is, right? So you're not going to want to tend to paint a giant walking war machine white, unless you know that thing is going to take a pounding and you are very confident in what it can do. But this guy, on the other hand, who's a tiny little guy, I don't think he's going to do much, right? He's more of a scout unit. But in Battletech, somehow that makes sense. So I never really, like, if I look at my paint colors here, they're all based on GW Citadel paints and stuff like that. I got a lot of Vallejo here, a little bit of Army War Painter. Those are paints that I bought when I first started painting. God, 2017. Like, really painting. I've been painting all my life on and off, but really painting. So yeah, 2017. So this is the gray I'm using for the accent colors on these guys. So we'll go through and paint this little guy. I can't even remember his name. I've actually never seen this mech before. But like I said, there's so many mechs in Battletech that I think unless you are a super fan, it's hard to know them all. But also, part of the fun of Battletech is, oh, I would like a mech that does this, and then you have to go discover it, right? So I would say he is mostly done. I'm going to go through and I'm going to do some little great hints on him. And then, like, I've got the cockpit already done and stuff like that. Then I'm going to do some metallics and stuff. I'm lazy with my metallics. I don't do the fancy thingamajiggers with the stuff and the who's and the what's its. Yes, I'm just being weird. But I digress. Yeah, so I just use metallic paint. A lot of people do the fancy schmancy stuff, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm painting little robots here. One day I will get into that, because it's something I do want to learn. So, mechanic is gray. And I'm just going to go through and pick little spots that I want to see some gray. Most of the time when I do it, I do like weapons systems and stuff, so I'll take some. This will be so much easier when I have a camera up there, and I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. There we go. Yeah, I think he would look good with great accent hue. And like I said, for these darker parts, I'm going to go through and I'm going to hit that with a shade. Once this is all dry, but for the most part, he was hit with that stuff, and then he was dry brushed white, and then I went through and I did the cockpit. That's one thing I want to do. I want to edge highlight this cockpit, which is going to be somewhat challenging, but whatever. One thing I really need to work on, and I've been slowly but surely working on it, is my freehand. I've never been a good freehand artist, but it's always room for improvement with all skills. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Plus it cleans up those windows nicely. And I mean, if I hiccup and I can hit something that's close enough to the white that I'm using, that there you go. It's all right. And here, I think I might actually just do that metallic. This looks like a gut here. I definitely want to hit this missile system with a bit of gray again, so I'm putting away from the camera. The only thing I don't like about this is it doesn't give me my analytics on my streams. Like if I actually have to go into YouTube to see if anybody's watching. This is it doesn't give me my. There we go. I can just mute that. One watching now, streaming 28. Okay, so that's me. Alright, well, eventually people will watch me. People will come. This is a work in progress. And that's the beauty of it. Honestly, I haven't touched anything video related in, oh lord, 3 years? No, I won't say 3 years, 2 years. Okay, I retired from film, and I donated all my gear to my son, who's getting into doing it. I just decided I didn't want to chase the buck anymore. So, but I'm doing this on my own accord, out of sheer want and need. You know, kind of gives me some accountability as far as projects go, because I have a lot of mechs and a lot of models to finish, and having that accountability is a good driver, right? And at the same time, I could potentially be entertaining somebody. I used to do this a lot more. I actually had a few regular watchers. People would be like, "How come you're not streaming anymore?" Or, "How come, you know?" I'm like, I didn't even think anybody watched. But They did. I used to do video games too, so I did a little bit of both. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I think I'm actually going to paint this silver because I got this gray, did the missile pod gray, and then I think that's going to be a silver. I said most of the painting's done on these guys once they're white. I mean, sometimes like you can add various different color systems. I really didn't look at. I will admit, I didn't look at the Sarna or the colors and stuff like that you're supposed to be painting them. I just know that they're white. Oh no, you can see the rip. There we go. Oh no. No. This guy is Mr. Fisto. So there's a few points that I'm going to hit with gray. And then these guys are going to be silver and black. There's nice little jump jets. I think that's an anti-missile system up there. Looks pretty sick. This part definitely going to hit with gray. The cockpit. I don't know. I like painting cockpits a little bit different color. Just kind of brings them out a little bit more. Plus, it's nice if I make mistakes on the cockpit too. I can use a different color to hide those mistakes a lot easier. Or I could go back and, you know, repaint. But who wants to do that? Now, if I make a mistake on the gray, then I have a problem. Sorry. You know, painting the camera is definitely going to make me a better painter. Because I have to paint these things at weird angles just to make sure you guys see them. I mean, I know I have my camera on a weird angle. Oh, no, see what I did there? See what I did there? You don't see what I did there. I screwed up. But that's okay, because we can fix that. Okay, nice little gray cockpit. I think this Black Knight needs some gray on him too. I know that. Do 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 do. The one thing I like about these Catalyst sculpts is the detail, but I've also been spoiled by Games Workshop minis for so long. The production quality on these is not nearly as good as a Games Workshop model. And I mean, there's also the stuff from Ironwind Metals, which eventually I'm going to pick up some because I think it would be fun to paint metals. But I'm going to avoid certain models because I actually don't like a lot of the older 1980s sculpts. Actually really like the new sculpts way more. I would honestly, like, if it's between a new sculpt or an old sculpt, like if they don't have a new sculpt for it, I'd rather print the MechWarrior 4 version or go on to Cults or whatever and find somebody that has made a proxy. I mean, I'm not playing tournaments or anything, so I think it's fine. You know, these people are just showing their love and creative affinity for something they love. I realize that, you know, people own copyright to this thing, but if they're not producing minis for it, and somebody wants to create a mini for something that doesn't already exist, then I think they should just do it. Right? Obviously, I'm going to support Catalyst as much as I possibly can. Because I think so far they have done a pretty good job of trying to replicate what these things are like. And they've actually done a very, very good job on scale, too. One thing I will give them is their scale. Because these are 1/285th or a Z scale model. So if you were to like take a look at the Atlas, for instance, you can figure out that it's in the old lore, it's like 14 meters tall or something like that. I can't remember. I have all those books behind me. I can't reference them. But in the old lore, it actually ends up being shorter than it actually should be, right? Because it's a 100-ton mech. This is a 100-ton behemoth mech that we're talking about, not one of these little guys. And he works out to being like the old model. If you take a look at the scale on it, he works out to be like shorter than he would be in real life, right? So I don't know what happened in the old days, but things really were not to scale. Whereas with this, things are to scale. And that's like doing 3D printing and stuff like that. That's been a bit of a challenge because I've had to use existing mechs as references as well as pictures to scale some minis. Because like sometimes somebody will do something really cool, but they won't scale it properly. So you have to like touch it up a little bit. Like, oh yeah, sweet, I made this tank that doesn't exist. It's like, okay, well, how big would this tank feasibly be in the Battletech universe? Not how big is this tank, right? Like, scale is a big thing to me. I'm used to working with like Games Workshop stuff, so everything is technically to scale or close as it can be, even though it's a fantasy thing. Now, I realize there's a huge debate between the old Warhammer models and the new Warhammer models, but the newer Warhammer models are actually supposed to be more to scale with a 28 millimeter. Right. Like if you look at the Necrons, I have a few Necrons, they're a little taller, right? So like this example, this guy is an old Warhammer guy, and then the new Primaris guys are like literally like this much taller. They're just a bit taller, right? They're supposed to be more to scale. So modeling back in the day wasn't as accurate with these things. But these were just board game tokens back then too, right? I shouldn't say that. Somebody's going to yell at me for that. They'll yell, they'll scream, they'll kick, they'll cry. But like I have, and I know they're releasing, Catalyst is releasing some new versions of them, which is great, and I will buy them. I will buy them all if I can. Because I am a huge Battletech fiend. One thing you will see a lot on this channel is Battletech stuff, be it 3D printed or not. I am not opposed to using 3D printed stuff because here's the thing. This game wasn't available for years. So you have a massive 3D printing market that has come up because none of this stuff was available. The only way you could get it was ordering it through Ironwind Metals, in which you're paying $20 for one of these, right? And even then, the sculpt is usually not nearly as good as, say, this or a 3D printed mini. And sometimes you just don't like the sculpt. So if you want to buy a Marauder, for instance, don't curse me for saying this, but I absolutely love the MechWarrior 5 model, the MechWarrior Online version of the Marauder series, and I love the Catalyst series. I do not like the old Ral Partha look of the Marauder, even though it looks cool and it's very nostalgic. I don't really think I could see myself painting one of those. Whereas like the old Vulture or Mad Dog, I really love the old look of it, and I love the new look of it even more. And then when you get into the Vulture, the Vulture 3, the Mad Dog Mark 3. That to me even looks more, you know what I mean? To me, that mech always reminded me of an Apache. I don't know why. It's just that long, thin upper body. You know, it was like an attack helicopter. It was designed to be fast and nimble, go in, pack a punch, and get the heck out of there. I have destroyed Atlases with a Vulture before. Because that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to harass. And oh no! We have lost camera. There we go. I can't wait for my camera mount to come in. Soon. All things come to those who wait. Okay, so this I'm going to do in gray. With the tip I'm going to do metallic. That's a big frickin' weapon. This variant, I'd have to look this variant up. I'm not too familiar with this guy. I know a lot more of the classics. I know the Black Knight is a classic, but he's just not a mech I ever really used. So I'm not as familiar with him as, you know, for example, like the Catapult or whatever. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. But let's just say I'm not familiar with this guy's variants. But now that I have him and I have him painted, I can familiarize myself. Not that I couldn't before, but I'll be more. I'll be like, you know what? You're battling Comstar today. You know, and I'll take those Comstar variants. I'm more familiar with an Annihilator, right? I know those variants. It's got, they're just big, stupid fun mechs. Big, stupid, slow fun mechs. That pack so much punch, they have the name Annihilator. You have been annihilated. Whereas this guy is just a Black Knight. He packs a punch too, apparently. Which is cool. Because with him, or her, whichever. So my intent with these guys is to start playing regular games. I have a buddy that comes over. We play Battletech a lot. But what I was thinking is, because I have the new version of Mech Warrior. Actually, I have both new versions of the RPG. I was planning on creating my own pilots and then using those pilots in these mechs. And then, like, say for example, if like we could create a house rule that if somebody gets blown up or something like that on a roll of a, like, unless it's like a catastrophic, like, you know, shot out the cockpit kind of thing, you know, most of the time you probably have time to eject or climb out. Hopefully, one would hope. Right, so on a roll of a d6, because the entire game is based on d6 rolls, on a roll of a d6, a 6 plus equals pilot is deceased. Because in the 31st century, life is cheap. So yeah. Boo-doo-boo. And I'm getting a turntable, so I'll be able to do nice slow spins of all these guys once they're painted. You know, I'm really more or less just painting these guys for tabletop anyways. These aren't showpieces, so should be good. Missed this. No. It's got that one, that one, that one, that one. I gotta do steel for this one. I got that one. And what I might do is actually paint. What you are hearing in the background is a grumpy old cat being bothered by a stupid young cat. And I'd have to get in there with a really fine brush and hit that cockpit window. Definitely. Yeah, I don't like how that turned out. A bit of a white lead off there. But, you know, I'm still impressed with the color, the speed paint colors. That is all speed paint. I haven't done any white. I haven't done any white on him yet. I know that. I have to do light touch-ups on all these guys. Or maybe I have, because he's got shadow here and he's got white here. Yeah, maybe I have done him. So, right. Do-do-do. And let me show you the end result of. So this guy was somebody I thought that I globbed it on way too much, right? You're about to hear a cat get into a fight. So like if you see that, look at all that detail that it picked up. These in here, obviously, I'm gonna fix those up. Right, and it just sits in those recesses, right? So it's an easy way to do light, right? Not king crab, just a crab, regular old crab. These mechs are fun. Every time I've encountered these in MechWarrior 5, they are super, super hard to take down. Usually because when I'm going against them, I'm attacking them with a very light mech. So, but you gotta like. This guy, I wish I could remember the name of him. I try every time I open up a pack of these, I try and remember the actual names and of everything and stuff like that. But yeah, it just I can't. The name escapes me. Oh well, I'm sure it'll come to me. I'll just look up the sheet for it. So I play a bit of both. I play Classic and I play Alpha Strike. Alpha Strike is still very new to me, but I like it because it's more streamlined and it's very, very based on the miniature, right? So everything should be to scale, right? And that's what I like about it. Whereas on the classic version, it's more of a top-down board game, classic Avalon Hill style war game, right? In it, you have tanks, you have mechs, you have air, you have aerospace units, which are space units that can come down. Oh, still in the water, eh? Oh. Give me 1 second. What are you doing? Are you that bored? Oh, it's just empty. This is how you get attention. All right. Well, so I think that's where I'm going to end things today. Like I said, I'm going to make my streams a lot longer. If you've actually watched this all the way to the end, I'm going to make my streams a lot longer. You know what? I forgot to share this on Facebook. That's one big habit I have to get into. So yeah, if you're watching this, you know, I do plan on changing things up. I'm just waiting to get, like, I have a light that's up here pointing down. I actually plan on putting this camera, cell phone, up top so that you're going to get a bird's eye view of what I'm working on down here. So like I can lay things down because I'll paint them like this, right? And it'll be a bit better view for people watching to kind of see what I'm doing, because this is a hard angle. And I got rid of a lot of my stuff. Ooh, my nails are dirty. Well, poop. Oh well. Shame on me with dirty nails. Anyways, yeah, so things are going to get better with this. I'm just kind of building it slowly but surely. I do eventually want to, I have my airbrushing station right here. I do eventually want to get a camera set up for that, because I have to airbrush the Riptide from the last video that I posted. And I would like to be able to do that. So this is a good way to make me want to paint more. So if you like what you're watching, or if you don't like what you're watching, just say so. You know, I just some feedback is cool. I'm just kind of doing this for the sheer fun of it. I'm actually a retired video producer, so that you know, it's just kind of taking two things he likes to do and kind of putting them together into one. Eventually, what I'd like to do is actually be able to shoot a game of Alpha Strike with somebody. I have a very good table that I'm working on. I do have to paint a lot of the terrain, but I can get the beauty of Alpha Strike is it's not, you don't have to use like a stupid amount of terrain. You can use the cardboard terrain they have. Yeah, I know it's cheesy, but at the same point in time, it is functional. Eventually, I'm going to build up, because like I have been purchasing the Hex Tech terrain and printing it out on my Ender 3, which takes forever because it's an Ender 3 and they print slow, but they do a good job. So, you know, I'm a hobbyist. I don't need $1,000 printer. Or do I? If you have $1,000 printer that you're willing to give to me so I can print terrain faster and paint it faster, please, God, yes. Until then, though,